Hello everyone, this is my last video on sensation and perception, and I'm going to talk about illusions and Gestalt principles of perception. So illusions are kind of really interesting and can be a lot of fun, but an illusion is really a misperception of an object or an event. I'm showing you a picture of an optical illusion over here, and this would be a much better example if you were looking at it as a flat picture or a picture in a textbook. But this is actually not a video. It's not really moving. It's a 2D flat picture, but it looks 3D and it looks like it's actually moving. And it's because our visual system is getting overwhelmed by all the visual information that we're getting here, and it's making it look like that is moving, but it's actually not. And oftentimes during the day, we will see things and hear things and think, wow, did I hear that or did I see that? And we'll go and check it out and realize, oh, we did not hear that. So you're not hallucinating that. You're actually just misperceiving something that actually happened in the real world. A hallucination is when people perceive things that have no external basis in reality. There's nothing there. There was no sound. There's no person there. There's nothing there. But the person actually believes that they're talking to another person, that they're seeing another person, and they're responding to that other person. So people that are hallucinating and have mental illness, they don't question what they see is what they're seeing is real. They just assume that it's real. So those of us, we all constantly have illusions where we misperceive something that's happening, but that does not mean we're going crazy, and it doesn't mean that we're hallucinating. It just means that we thought we saw something, and when we checked it out, it was not that what we didn't see what we thought we saw, and that's a sign of actual health. Actually, people who hallucinate do not question whether it's real. They are very convinced that it's real, and this is just another example of a optical illusion where it looks like this is moving, but it's not really moving. The Muller-Lyer illusion is also another optical illusion, and it's kind of a trick that our brain plays on us. So I always ask in my class, which line is shorter here? And most of the time people will pick line A as being shorter because it sure looks shorter to me. But actually these two lines are exactly the same length. It's just this downward arrow and upward arrow here that makes it look like this line is shorter than another. And if you actually took a ruler to these, you would see that they're exactly the same. And this is a really common illusion. This wall here sticking out here looks like it's much taller, much longer than the wall over here. But logically, we know that that's not the case. This is another illusion. Which line do you think is shorter? Well, actually, this one looks like it's shorter, but it's actually exactly the same length as well. Just has to do with our visual system and how we're perceiving it. Makes it look like this line is shorter. So Gestalt is a movement in psychology that really studied a lot about perception in the 1950s and 60s. And one of the bigger things that they talked about was figure ground organization, that we tend to focus on one major object in a picture, and then we see the other parts of that object as background. So when we're looking at this picture here, if you look at the white portion of this picture, you see kind of a weird looking vase. If you look at the blue portion of this picture, you see two figures, two women, it looks like to me. So what we focus on has a lot to do with what we see. And actually perceptions are really just educated guesses about what we're seeing. Think about it. Your visual system's taking in all this information, and it's trying to sending that information to your brain, and your visual lobe is really processing this information and trying to connect what we're seeing with things that we know and things that we've experienced. And sometimes we're wrong in what we think we see. We're pre-wired to see patterns and faces and organize visual information. Babies especially are pre-wired and focused on seeing faces. Gestalt, the theory of closure that Gestalt came up is that the whole is greater than the sum of its part, and that we naturally try to find closure when we see something. So we naturally see a triangle here, even though there really are only 3 Pac-Man symbols here. We actually see this triangle. So we try to organize information into a whole rather than just seeing it as bits and pieces. So we see this as a cube, rather than a bunch of circles with missing parts in them. And then, when we look at even paragraphs and sentences, if somebody puts in an extra word in a sentence or we're missing a word, a lot of times we fill in those blanks when we're reading something. We want it to make sense to us. We want to make sense out of a picture, so we visually organize information to make it make sense to us. So here's some other Gestalt principles of organization. Proximity, so we put things together that are close together, and we assume that they go together. Similar items, we put those together. Visually, it's much easier to look at those 3 triangles going down and the 3 circles going down than trying to look across. So we group things together that are similar. If things are connected, we group those things together. And then naturally, we like closure. We try to make things into a whole. This is an example of kind of a figure ground relationship, and there's 2 different things that one could see in this picture. We can see either an old woman or a young woman, and usually in my classes it's about 50-50 who sees what, and it doesn't necessarily say anything about you, what you actually see in this particular picture, but some people really have a hard time once they've seen the one picture once they've seen maybe the young woman to actually visualize the old woman. So I'm going to show you where the old woman is and then where the young woman is, and see if that helps you to be able to visualize both. But it's interesting because we can sort of flip back from both once we've seen them both. But sometimes we get stuck on just that one vision. So if you're looking for the old lady, this is her chin. She's got some kind of fur on, and this is her mouth. This is her nose. This is her eye. And she's got some kind of hair and scarf on over her head. So the young woman, this is actually her neck here, and this is like a choker around her neck, just a necklace, I guess. This is her chin, this is her tiny little nose, that's her eyelash, this is her ear, and this is her hair and her hat, and I don't know what else is going on there too. So hopefully you can see both of those, but it's interesting how our visual system can organize information either way. And why is it that one person sees the old lady first and somebody else sees the young person first? I don't really know. It's kind of an old-fashioned looking young lady, and it's even an old-fashioned looking old lady too. And then this is another one. Do you see an angel or a devil in this one? And can you see both of them, or did you see both of them right away? We tend to focus on one thing or the other, and that's what Gestalt says with this figure ground organization. It's hard to focus on both at the same time, but we can flip back and forth once we recognize that they're both there. So that is it about the Gestalt principles of organization and perception and sensation, chapter 5. Thank you for listening.